Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody, this is Sergeant Steve Turner, Burbank PD, and he has graciously agreed to basically talk to us. He's gonna give us a briefing about, I guess they're called intruder alert and what we should do. And then he's also said he will open up to any questions you have, any concerns you have. And so, thank you, Felicia, for bringing up at the board meeting, and thank you to your captain for reacting so quickly. And once again, he is, by way of introduction, before he talks about himself, he is a local Burbankian. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it.
That's always
Banker. I mean,
Burbanker or Burbankian has always been the argument. I think it's Burbankian.
So some of you who live in Burbank, he lives here too. He grew up here.
Yep.
He's a graduate of our neighbor school down the street, St. Finbar's. And so, once again,
Awesome.
please.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you so much. Well, good morning, everybody. And thank you for giving me this time. I truly enjoy this, and any kind of chance we have to talk to the community and ensure you guys that what we're doing are protective measures that we're doing to keep everybody safe here in this city. So before I start, though, I would like to tell you a little bit about why it's near and dear to my heart here. So my parents are from Ireland originally. My father's retired LAPD, retired back in 80. I'm the youngest of 5 boys. I was talking to somebody earlier, so I'm always the baby, right? Always the baby. So they moved here to the beautiful city of Burbank, probably, I think it was about 1965. And we were born and raised, we all grew up right down the street over here off in Magnolia Park area. So very familiar with it, right? Now I had the good fortune, been here with Burbank PD this is my 21st year. 21 years here with Burbank PD. I've been very fortunate to police the community that I love and I currently live in. You know, I have, we're members of the St. Finbar Parish here. My wife's a school teacher. Our 3 children graduated there, went on to Burroughs. 2 of them graduated and moved on, and I still got one over there right now. So we just finished our Friday night lights with football and everything else. So it's been busy, but it's, again, this community, the city, the people of it are very near and dear to me, and there's nothing more rewarding than working in the city that you love. So a little bit more about me and why I've done similar talks like this before too. So in the city of Burbank, I have had the good fortune of working several different details. A lot of my details have actually been with our juvenile bureau, our juvenile detail, either as a school resource officer, as a juvenile detective, and then most recently as the supervisor of the juvenile detail, where we've built tremendous relationships with our school district, strong relationships with our school district, and a lot of our principals, and now some have even moved into administrative positions and stuff. And we saw the need, especially unfortunately nowadays, we did all the threat assessment training with the school district. We created new training modules, and myself, as well as my partners, have been part of training the entire school district, teachers and staff on threat assessment and threat warning. So that's kind of my background. For about 8 years or so, I was a part of our SWAT team, both as an operator and as a team leader. So again, we did training not only with the school district, it branched out with our local businesses, as well as other city of Burbank buildings and employees and stuff. And it's always evolving and it's always changing. So that's a little bit of my background and a little bit of what probably landed me here today. So currently, this beautiful face is the face of the Burbank Police Department. My current role is the Public Information Officer, which was new. I just started that role, was in August, and with that role, I work with our chaplains, which Rabbi Sobel has been a long-standing member with our chaplains group, and it's been amazing. So he's helping me along the way too on my new journey, and so it was asked that I come out here today and talk to you. I know. It's different times that we're living in, safe to say, and people have tremendous concerns. I can tell you the city of Burbank is well aware, not only of most recent events, but previous events, and we always keep an eye out. I was talking to somebody earlier today about our houses of worship and our significant locations in our city, and our officers know morning, noon, and night. We're always keeping an eye on them. We keep an eye when actions across the globe take place. There's a heightened awareness, and our officers are reminded daily. We have roll calls, so we have 3 shifts a day. We have a day shift, a night shift, and we have our mid watch that covers both. And before they start each shift, they have roll call. And within roll call, we explain to these officers, right? That's our discussion, about 20, 30 minutes to put out, latest, we had a lot of burglaries last night, yada, yada, yada. Mr. Smith's acting crazy again, whatever it is, right? And then, but part of that too is a constant reminder to keep an eye on, for example, the temple here, area checks at night, during the day and stuff. So please understand there's always a presence around, This is a little bit more unique because I've done these presentations too, where with just the students, I've done the presentations with the faculty, and I've done presentations specifically with like the parents, if you will. And so we have what I hope today we could have is an open discussion. I think I'll have you guys guide me a little bit more so than me standing up here and just throwing, opening a fire hose and throwing a bunch of information at you. So I would like to kind of get geared into which way you guys want me, what you're expecting from as far as today, what you would like to hear from myself or from the Burbank Police Department. So is there any questions to get started? Anyone? Yes. No. Any other questions? Yes.
So as members of this community,
Yes.
sometimes, people, people have the right to free assembly.
Yes.
And, people may say things to us that we find disagreeable. How within the community are we kept safe from people of that nature? Like say if like for instance, we are planning to be in downtown Burbank for the first night of Hanukkah. What should we expect within the community in terms of our protection?
I can tell you. So one of our founding principles is the Constitution, right, and the right to assemble and the right to free speech, right, peacefully assemble.
Yes.
Free speech. If it's not invoking, challenges, if it's not invoking, what I mean, not causing free speech in the term of disturbances and calling people out. So while our job is to ensure that people have that ability to peacefully, whether it be protest or demonstrate, it's also the key word to it is peacefully do it. And it's a balance with law enforcement. We've got a lot of practice in it the past 5 years or so. But I would tell you that the officers would be around, and if at any time you feel unsafe or threatened by what's being said or actions that are being done, you immediately contact us. Or usually we have officers down there and on the promenade, right, for the menorah lighting.
Well, we'll be inside. We'll be by Burlington Coat Factory.
Okay.
Inside.
So there's I hope the answer is, so a couple different things. We could work with Rabbi and have an officer there already. Be aware of it. We usually do an area check for it as well too, which is the roll call information that this event's going to be going on. And we've had a lot of contentious debate over the past few years with various communities, and it's gotten pretty heated at times. And again, our goal is to keep everybody safe and to keep everybody, hear your voice, but we're going to do it respectfully. We're going to do it, reasonably. So we haven't had, in most recent months, as it pertaining to specifically, I'm sure you're asking about Israel, right? And what's going on in Israel. And we haven't, in the city of Burbank, we haven't had anything that I'm aware of on the top of my head. So it's good news, right? There hasn't been anything like that. Yes.
I was told that there was the removal of a mezuzah from a business in Burbank.
There was. So just I'm filling in today as far as for our patrol officer today. I'm helping out. And so this morning during our roll call, I read that over here on Magnolia, one of the businesses. The catch to it is we don't know what the circumstances are behind it. We don't know if it was local homeless person who grabbed it. We don't know if it was hate affiliated with it or anything like that. There was no other vandalism, no other graffiti, nothing else. Just that was taken. Because of that, we have officers I read out today, the address, location, who to contact, and kind of keep an eye on it. And they'll go out through their day as part of their log. They'll check and keep what we call area checks at that location.
Do you know, did they have a security guard this particular location already?
I don't believe so. I believe it was overnight and it was just closed business. So yeah, no security guards.
And in general, so you're saying that the hate level is not really elevated in the city of Burbank since October?
It's not. I haven't seen it, especially so being in the public information office.
Yeah.
Usually we would get like a notification of protest or anything like that. We haven't had any. There hasn't, there hasn't been any kind of increase in hate crimes in our city. As far as that's, it's good news. It's all good news, but it doesn't mean we take our guard down. It absolutely doesn't mean that. We have to always stay vigilant and always be aware of it. My ear's always very close to what's going on over there, and I work directly outside the chief's office. And so we're in contact, quite often. So, but there hasn't been, thankfully.
How about the cities that surround us, like Glendale and North Hollywood?
In our immediate cities that surround us, there hasn't been. Just the ones that you guys have seen on the news, and like downtown and some of those other districts. But in North Hollywood, Glendale hasn't had any. Glendale's biggest, they were more, so going back, talking about some of our recent experience, Glendale was having a hard time with their school board and some of the policies. This is long before October, it was not long before October, but nothing specific to what's going on right now overseas. So it's good, I don't have the answers to it, and hopefully it keeps it that way. So yes, Ron.
If I may. When Glendale was having a problem, and there was a potential for the Burbank School District to have a problem over the same issue.
Yes.
Okay. I happened to be going on a ride along, and happened to be a roll call, and it was, if we call you, come back in and get your gas masks, and then we go back out again. So they were prepared to assist Glendale, and if something happened here in Burbank, they were ready to go, and they would protect the people. If I may speak for a minute, a lieutenant that we both know, Lieutenant Fromer, who you've heard me talk about him at Final Services.
Yes.
He's traffic. They're the ones who sit in the parking lot
Oh,
and
yeah.
catch the speeders,
Mhm.
which we're very happy about. But we were talking about it. He said, someone said something to me. How do you feel? He said, as long as I wear this uniform, I'm absolutely neutral. I don't have any feelings at all, as long as I'm wearing the uniform. And I was it, and I respect them. Because that's the only answer. I'm neutral. As long as I'm in uniform, I just need to keep you guys from, you didn't say it, but keep it calm. So I just want to add that. But
But to add on top of that, so to your concern too, right? Because the Burbank PD, right? What if it's an event we're not able to handle? So we have mutual aid. We have agreements with several cities in our local area or mutual aid area. So typically, if we know there's going to be a protest coming up in front of City Hall for whatever the cause, it might have the potential to be heated. We put out information to our neighboring agencies, like, hey, we're having this in the event we have a mutual aid incident where we can call in resources from other cities. And part of their contract, they're binded by contract to send resources to us. So, and vice versa. And we'll go help, Alhambra or Glendale, whoever it may be.
And just one more quick question.
Of course.
Being that we have proliferation in this city, in this town, of gun shops,
Yes.
has gun crime risen as a result of all of these gun availability in the city?
No, surprisingly, no, it hasn't. I would tell you a lot of these gun stores that are here in town, they've been here a long, long time, right? Because of it, because I think the city of LA put in an injunction and don't quote me on it, some years ago as far as installing where Burbank didn't have it.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
a lot of stores are here.
enlarged themselves by at least 2/3, and you realize one of those smaller gun shops is now as big as like
It's huge.
the department store.
Yeah, COVID really highlighted it. Some of the civil unrest that coincided with that highlighted it, where there was a huge influx of individuals wanting to, for lack of a better term, protect themselves.
Yeah.
But with that is a huge responsibility as well. But there hasn't, and it's a concern, and we're well aware. But no, it hasn't. We haven't seen any noticeable difference. Like because of this has happened. And then who's staff that's here? Who works the school and everything here too? So a few of you here. And do you guys have lockdown drills and lockdown stuff? And do you have policies as far as that's concerned and what to do? Kind of, sort of.
Well, We've done more earthquake drills and more fire drills.
Yeah.
And have lockdown drills.
For sure. We got it down, and that's always my with earthquake and fire, unfortunately nowadays. And lockdown could be for various reasons, right? For the obvious, but it could be for an incident happening out here, like a police incident happening out here, a traffic stop or whatever that's elevated. We would probably put you guys on a lockdown. You know what I mean? If we're looking, so that's why it's important to have these. And similarly with fire drills and earthquake drills, it's a muscle memory, and there's no perfect solution, but it is important to try it. You know, the kids, you know, they've come up in an environment much different than us, right? And unfortunately, it seems to be more the common now with this generation. You know, it started. I lovingly call my children the disaster babies. My daughter, who was born in March of '99, so when she was in the stage of the early middle of the night waking up, well, what happened in April of '99 was a watershed moment for schools and for law enforcement. It was Columbine, and that was wall to wall coverage, and it was the craziest thing all of us. Not that they didn't have them before, but it wasn't so prolific, and so watching that and got sucked in that, watching that over again. And then my son came along, and he was born in June of '01. And then what happened in September of '01. So again, with the idea of rocking the babies at all hours of night and the wall to wall of 24-hour news coverage, it sinks into you. That being said, it's different now. These children know, especially my son, who's my baby, right? It's different, and they constantly deal with threats. They constantly deal with that, and I caution people. We have a system that we use with Burbank Unified School District as far as a threat assessment team, because not all threats are created equal, correct? Well, we had, if I wanted to get out of my math final, I'd pull the fire alarm, right? We take off, and what's my intent? My intent is not to throw Molotov cocktails into the classrooms, right? My intent is to cause a little chaos or whatever. Sometimes our children, and we have to educate them. Will make a threat similar to Columbine or something like that for that reason, not with any intent, but with a specific reason to cause panic and to cause disruption, because their brains are half mush at that age and they don't know any better. So we have systems in place to deal with that. You know what I mean? And we not everything's treated the same. We look at it as a multidisciplinary view from it. We do all the checks and balances. It all comes through the filter the same. The end results are different, but we have, law enforcement, we have school, we have mental health. Everyone looks at it from a different, sometimes it's a cry for help. Sometimes it's a child who's just saying nonsense. Sometimes it's concerning behavior, which leads to even another level. So please understand that with our local community or youth community, we're constantly telling them, we're constantly aware, and we're growing, and it's evolving. And with each new incident comes new concerns with it. So we'll see. What else we have? Any other questions?
Well, I guess that's kind of like what my question is. In case of emergency, what do we do?
Define emergency for me.
Someone's banging on the door outside. Let me in.
So
we don't know who he is, and we're concerned. Absolutely.
So I've done a walkthrough with Rabbi. We'll probably continue to do it, and what we'll do is, if it's somebody, if you don't know, you lock it up the best you can. That's why we talked about lockdown drills and an immediate call. And the good thing in the city of Burbank, on an emergency call, and our average time is really quick.
And it's just 911. How does that work?
So I'll tell you a little secret. So we have the 911 line and we have the non-emergency line. 238-3000 is our non-emergency line. They go to the same place. It's the same dispatchers. It's the same communication center. It's the same thing. If it comes in off of 911, it's a different, it's a different tone for them to pick up on. It, prioritizes it versus a non-emergency. I would say in an instance like that, call 911. And they'll be taking calls and they'll ask you, do you need police, fire, paramedics, right? Well, I need police. And they'll inevitably put you on hold. So they'll put you on hold, and then they'll get you. This is actually a good topic, because I want people to understand this. So let's say it's an emergency. This guy's making threats now, right? And he's banging on the side of the door. You go into a lockdown. And what people need to understand with our communication center, where people have a lot of hard time during an emergency because you're already stressed, that the goal of that dispatcher is to keep you on the phone as long as he or she can and get as much information as he or she can. That doesn't mean they're taking the information and then they're going to hang up with you and then they're going to dispatch it. What's happening is there's usually 3 to 4 dispatchers in the room and they all have distinct roles and they rotate them. So the call taker, as they're taking the call, the other one's listening and they're sending the call out to the police officers. And so while you're going crazy saying, would you please just send the police? Like, they're on their way, they're coming. You know, what's that person wearing? What's that person doing? You know, and as we're coming, they're telling us. They're saying he's on the south side of the building. He's at this door. He or she's wearing, you know, a black shirt or whatever it is. So please understand, and that's a medical emergency as well. If you're at home and you call, and all the communication centers work the same that way. So please understand, the longer you can stay on the phone, the longer you can provide them information. Your resources are coming, right? Police or fire are coming. But again, it's just for them to get more and more information.
What if you're in a situation where you cannot speak out loud? What's the best?
You
method?
text 911. We
Okay,
have
so
text.
you can do
You
that.
can. You can
Okay.
text 911. That's up and running. It's been going for a good little while now too. So it's a very real concern. You're on a lockdown, right? You don't want to be that scary movie person where you left your ringer on, right? So you want to make sure your phone's on silent. If you can get information, we have the ability. If you text 911, it goes right to. They're able to, without getting into the based off of cell phone signals and towers, they're able to route those calls. Like if you're texting 911 from, say, North Hollywood, you're closer to the North Hollywood station, they'll send it to LAPD. If you're here in the middle of Burbank, it's going to go to Burbank PD, and they'll be able to communicate with you. That's a very good question. So we do have text 911, we have 911, traditional 911, and we have the 238-3000, so our non-emergency number. Something suspicious, you know, this car's been out here for, you know, a day or two. We're just, you know, have to take a look at it. And that's the other thing I want to encourage you to is just call us. Call us. I've been, you know, like I said, I've been here 21 years. I've gone on barking dogs to shots fired calls. You know what I mean? So we do we're full service. We'll do it all. And we encourage everybody, to the kids and to the parents too. I know it sounds cliche, but it's the only way to see. If you see something, say something. You have to say something. You know, unfortunately, in the studies that I've done with some of these major events at schools and stuff like that, there's always the bystander effect, right? The FBI has done a study on it. There's absolutely a bystander effect where there are signs. There are absolute signs leading up to an event, whether it's a friend they confided in, whether it's a parent or a teacher or a rabbi that saw something, but just kind of, we inherently we're good, and you just, that's not what I'm thinking. That's what I was. Say it, discuss it. Again, it doesn't mean that child or that individual is going to go to prison. It means maybe we're getting that person linked up with the proper help or resources they need. So, yes.
For example, what would be like a non-emergency?
If you came here and the temple got broken in overnight, right? And there's no, you know, you're relatively, that's a bad example because I'd still want you to call, but either way, you can call either one. Like I said, I talked about a suspicious car, a report, a delayed, my car got broken into, you know, you go out to your car and the car's broken into, you can call the 238-3000 number. But again, it goes to the same, so I don't want you to get too confused. It goes to the same spot. We try to encourage you, if it's not an emergency, use the 238-3000 because we don't want to tie up the 911 lines, you know. It ultimately goes to the same spot, but we try to keep the 911 lines for emergencies. You know what I mean? So that's, yeah, some kind of delay, what we would call like a report call, a delayed report of an incident that happened a while ago. You can call the 238-3000 number. Yes.
How quickly does the text 911 respond?
What's that?
How quickly does the text, like when you text 911, how quickly do they respond?
Fairly quick. I mean, it's immediate. So when the dispatchers come into their communication center, it looks like mission control in there, right? They have maps and phones and all kinds. Each dispatcher has about 5 different screens that they're monitoring. And one of the programs, like when you start up your program, like when you start up your laptop, your antivirus starts up, or it's similar to that. So that program's up and running. So it's immediate.
Yeah. Also, when I'm in school
Mm-hmm.
and trying to text in school, there's no way of texting whatsoever? Is there like, so if there is a shooting or something and you're in school,
Do
like
you,
there's no service or phone, anything, so when you try and text, it just doesn't go through.
so you're not talking about, it's not like a rule, it's a service issue. It's like
It's service.
you don't have any bars.
Yeah, no. So like how would you call or text?
Is it just certain, there's, the bad thing with that, I mean, that's a service that would have to deal with Verizon or whoever would have to do with that. Is there, I'm sure you have service at other parts of the school, like there's other parts of the worst. I could imagine if you're down in some of the lower, whatever, the basement classrooms or something like that, it probably, service would be difficult. And I wish I had a better answer for you, but unfortunately, it's nothing we can do. You could try to pull, it would be hard to say if there's not cell service, but you could try to get, like, the city has a guest Wi-Fi, the city of Burbank has a guest Wi-Fi that you can sign up to. If you're out and about, and you can check, I know, like at the golf course or whatever it is, Public Works has it throughout the city. Some spots better than others.
Do school landlines, can they dial 911?
Oh, for sure.
That's what I was gonna say.
Do you know how to use a landline? I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm sorry. Yeah. So the most obvious, so most schools, to go back, it's actually a very good point. So most schools, I know in Burbank Unified, there's various levels of security with that. There's cell phone, there's intercom, there's their landlines that they can use as intercom. And so there's a lot of layered, because of that, because not always the cell phone service is going to work or whatever it is. So it's always important to have various levels. Yes.
I wondered if you briefly touched on like mental health professionals and
Yes.
getting people the right help they need and so on. So one of my concerns that's been happening recently is that, those of us that have very young children.
Yes.
You're a father yourself.
Yes.
I think there's a big concern about not having enough mental health professionals in the cities or schools or perhaps Temple.
Yes.
To talk to especially young children about how to deal with some of these fears, specifically in the Jewish community, for example.
Mm-hmm.
My child has been bringing some of those fears home,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, for example, can we get a security guard? Like, we're looking to move soon. And there was a place I mentioned, like, well, we could maybe, this place has a security guard, like, booth that you could drive in and, it's very, and she's been talking about that ever since. Like, she's like, can we move to that place with the
Just
security?
fixated on it now.
Yeah, so you see what I mean? So I'm just putting that question out. Again, it may not be your department, but
We absolutely.
when and how are we going to have, psychologists, psychiatrists come into our community, into our places to talk to our young children about, if somebody's talking about a gun store down the street that's as big as a department store, my 10-year-old might feel insecure.
Of course, and it's always a matter of resource, right? So on the law enforcement side, Burbank's kind of led the way with our mental health evaluation team, where we have an LA County clinician assigned with an officer, and we're currently in the process to bolster it, if you will, by one. We're trying to get another clinician, but like everything else, it's resource. You're deprived. We can't, whether it's a money issue or it's a personnel, like we're even PD, we're trying to hire as much, we can right now. But I have found success in leaning to, sometimes you got to think outside the box. Maybe within your group, maybe there is a psychiatrist or psychologist that worships here, and maybe lean on that individual would you mind coming in on a, whatever night to give an hour or two with the kids, to give an hour or two with the parents or whatever. And so that's where I found success in the past years, is bringing in outside experts to help out, to kind of not fill the void, but it fills the void, but it's also important to have a different perspective to it, to your point.
Yeah.
But to tell you that, we'll have, a psychologist, somebody on the whim, I'd be lying to you if I told you that. But we were very aware of that concern. Similarly, why we have school threat assessment teams designed the way we have them, where that's one, they meet, quarterly, go over cases, review cases that they've had in the past, and again, it's coming in for so many different perspectives. It's extremely important. The school counselor, psychologist, principal, administrator, law enforcement, our mental health team. So it gives you a really good perspective. But yes, I would lean on your community members to see if you could continue to do events like this. Yes.
Schools are very obviously understaffed as well.
Yeah. You can always ask. Like I tell everyone, ask at your if you're talking about the school level, like PTO meetings or whatever it is, bring it up. Have them. And see some schools are more inclined to help out in that aspect or not. We'll see. Yes.
Besides the lockdown, is a good idea.
Mhm.
Is there anything else you think that we should be doing here? We've been more diligent about locking the doors, which I think is great.
Mhm.
But is there anything else, camera wise or anything like
The
that?
biggest,
that you
the
would
more,
recommend?
the more cameras, the better, right? Again, it's a resource thing. Cameras have come down in cost. They're getting a little more easy to use. The more cameras, the better. Make it routine once a year, a couple times a year. Just do a walkthrough. Make sure that so what happens is the lock's not working right. Well, then the computer goes down. Well, we use this every day, so we're working on the lock. Kind of gets forgotten about. So make sure have that checklist. Have a certain thing. I would create a group here, maybe a safety group like they have at certain school campuses. You maybe create a group here of some of your members and, don't overdo it, right? Because too much of it becomes like white noise. So do it quarterly or whatever and have ideas, and lean on each other. Maybe to the similar fashion that somebody's may can donate their time as a psychiatrist. Maybe somebody can donate or help out because they own a door store or something. You know what I mean? And come up with different things. And it's always good to have more input. So if you have a set group and you guys meet every few months, hey, you have a checklist. Oh, it's January. We need to do a walkthrough, make sure everything's working fine, right? It's spring. We make sure the lights, where are we at on getting cameras? Do we have any, I find that works the best. The old adage now, if it's not on the calendar, it's not going to happen. So we could talk about it all we want, and this is me, pot kettle, the whole thing. If it's not on my calendar, we come up with some great ideas, but you have to do it. It has to have some follow through with it. Yes.
Is there a better, you see where we are there, is there a better room for us all to congregate in the lockdown? Or should we all just stay exactly where we are and lock our own individual rooms?
So when we discuss lockdowns and we discuss run, hide, fight is the national narrative, right? Run, hide, fight is the national narrative when we were talking about when we were talking about active threats.
Yeah.
And we call it threats because they can come in various forms. Always in an emergency like that, if you're able to, and you have a clear path, you run, you escape, you worry about reunification at a later time. You get out of the harm's way. That's not always the case. Hide is the next best, and there hasn't been specific with school shootings. There hasn't been a time where a lockdown has been defeated. They haven't defeated a locked door. So it's a huge benefit to do lockdowns, right? So typically what we like to do is get away from the windows. So this is unique, right? Because your windows, but that's whether you get out on the street to St. Finbar or here, they're wide open, right? But if you have an ability to go into one of these offices locked down, close the blinds, lock the door, go into the far corner, away from the door and out of sight the best you can. That is typically the best practice, right? The best practice. Maybe it's not. Maybe you have to do it here, right? Utilize some of the pews here, utilize whatever you need to do, tuck into one of these far corners where it's a little more concealed. But that's generally the practice with that.
Thank you.
Yes.
I've seen employer videos that have that run, hide, fight.
Yes.
Does, for instance, the Burbank Police Department have any kind of videos like that on their website?
So
that
we
may use as a resource.
What we've done, let me check the website. I believe it is on the website. We have a very involved presentation. I would say it's more geared towards like a staff level, parent, staff, adult audience. And it's a couple hours. And I think it is on our website through resources. And it's a presentation on that, on active threat and what to expect, like as far as our response, as far as best practice, what you should do, whether here or like in a store or whatever it is, and it has it. Department of Homeland Security. I mean, if you just even Google run, hide, fight, government, you'll get inundated with, and go to the .gov sites, whether it's through FBI or it's through Department of Homeland Security. They have several resources. They're printouts. There's tons of resources on it. that are available. Other videos, really good videos that they've done, kind of describing what it means and stuff. And it's good practice, but it's a good question. Yeah, I would tell you we're in the process of kind of updating our, because again, we're always evolving. So we're in the same presentation I'm telling you about that's available on our, it's probably from a couple of years ago. That was Captain Cornelius, Lieutenant Masako did it for some of our staffers for the city. And we're actually in the process, Sergeant Dugas and I are in the process of kind of updating some of that. But the principles are the same, so it's still good. So, but definitely. I would encourage, matter of fact, I would encourage all of you to go look those up at the various government sites. You know, good tips, printouts, whatever you need on that. So, what else?
Tell us what those websites would be again, or those locations where we go.
I would simply, because it's available either to the FBI or Department of Homeland Security, and there might even be some others.
That's good.
So if you put run, hide, fight just in your Google search bar, and then look for the government, sites, and then you'll find, because you'll even find local resources, other PDs similar to us that will have resources available on their websites too. So a good hodgepodge of it. So definitely.
I didn't know anything about those 3 words.
Yeah, that's the narrative. That's what they do.
Yeah.
That's
Bless you. I have a question about that. So when it comes to running, is it better to run out of the building where harm is taking place, or is it better to run and like hide in a locked classroom?
So it's typically we talk about this in a large office or even here. If the problems are happening here at the front door and you're already here at the back of this building, run, get out, just get out. There's no need to lock and wait for it to come. So it definitely means if you have the ability to. The teachers always laugh when I give this presentation at the school district. I tell like my kids, which is school, I tell them if they have the ability, run, keep running, and when you get tired, you run a little bit more. And then when you get tired, you keep running, and I'll pick you up in Van Nuys. Like, just get out of there. Just go. But that's not always the case, right? That's not always the case you're confronted with. It's on that hallway or on that floor or whatever. And the best option then is to hide and to conceal and to cover and to fortify your location the best you can, whether it's desks. But I'm telling you, the best fortification is a locked door and a blind. Because understand in situations like that, they have a clock too, right? And they want to just find, it's like water, right? So what's the quickest way I could go? And then most of these events are over within a couple minutes. I mean, here in Burbank, you have an event, I can tell you this. In the city of Burbank, not only is our response incredibly quick, if you were to have such an event here, you would get the all-star team. You would get Burbank, Glendale, LAPD, sheriff. You would have people in a community like this and in LA, like we all help you, you would get a massive response, massive. So, that's the one thing we're lucky to have in these cities here.
There was a question over there. On the right. Oh, Sarah.
Yes.
What if like we're at school and we have the option to run, but we're like not allowed to? Like if say we're like alone, like we went to the bathroom and they're like, oh, lockdown, but you're on like the first floor and you could leave.
I would caution it. I would caution it, right? You have to be unfortunately, there's no easy answer, right? You would have, because maybe they're locking down for something. Maybe it's nothing on the campus. Maybe they're doing a lockdown. Like I said, we're having an event outside, right? There was a chase and the police stopped and it's right here at Buena Vista and Clark and they're putting you on a lockdown. Well, it's not going to do you any good to go take off running. You know what I mean? It's not any good to take you off running that way. So does that make sense at all? If it's you're hearing it and it's engaging and something's going down and it's down and you have an opportunity or a window to get yourself to safety, you take that opportunity to
But
get
then what
yourself
if
to
we
safety.
get in trouble? And then, like,
You worry about the trouble later on.
Yeah.
You worry about the trouble. Like I told you, but again, but I want you to understand that you don't run into a bad position. If you could run to a good, get away, good. But don't run for the sake of running because you could run right into it. Yes.
To use the example of the situation up in Maine that happened
Yes.
recently. They locked down the entire community because they could not find the perpetrator.
Yeah.
So people couldn't leave their houses.
Yeah.
It didn't have anything to do with the immediate area
Yeah.
of the places where the tragedies happened.
Yep. It was a good few, it was a couple days. I mean, it was a while, and that was, yeah, for sure. So there's, same thing with Boston, right? When they were looking for that after the marathon, that whole community was on lockdown. So again, there's no easy, it's not black and white, it's best practice, right? Yes.
When we're in lockdown, like out of school, how will we know like what the threat is when we're in school and lockdown?
You may not, so it depends on the school, it depends on what they're saying. The job for you though is the job for you, if you're told by a teacher or whoever to go into lockdown, is just to be silent, right? Be silent and just listen to them. Don't start guessing. Don't start putting stuff out that you don't know. You know what I mean? You need to be quiet, and we'll tell you what's going on. We'll tell you if it's safe when we make contact with each one of those classrooms and stuff. Your mind's going to want to race, and you want to know what's going on. But just be as quiet as you can be. Listen to the teacher, and then we'll get you out of there or get information to you as soon as we could.
I don't want to be overly critical, but something Sergeant said, and we went through it, rightly so, and don't text somebody else. Because you don't know if their phone is on. And if their phone is on and they're hiding, the ring just told somebody that there's somebody there.
Yeah.
So it's hard, So that's the biggest problem is people start texting and then other phones go off or it makes a noise.
Yeah.
It's hard. But also, the Sergeant's right. If you start wondering what's going on, chances are it'll be far worse than what reality is.
Yeah.
Because that's the nature of our minds, unfortunately. So the teacher tells you to sit there. I agree, and I'm thinking the other way. We were taught it's always easier to get forgiveness than permission, but in this case, don't.
Yeah.
Don't put yourself because you don't know where the other shooter is.
Yeah.
If there is to, God forbid. So just sit down there, hide as best as you can. And when they will come, believe me, you'll know when the police are there because they'll knock on the door a lot, or they'll have a key to get into your room. Which
like to this young lady's point, when she's asking, should I run, or if I'm in the bathroom, it's recess, it's lunch period, or whatever it is, and something starts happening at the front of the school. Well, I don't want you to run in back into the front of the school to go get the lockdown in your classroom. I want you to, if you're already, I just want to make sure we're clear on that. That you have to be clear. Like I wouldn't run just for the sake of running. I mean, like they do a lockdown drill, and all of a sudden you're taking off, jumping over the fence. You know what I mean? And it could be just a drill.
Yeah, I can say at Burbank schools. Are you in Burbank?
Yeah.
All right, well, but you're in Glendale, probably similar. I know that in Burbank, for instance, part of the routine is if you are outside on the yard during this kind of event, that is where everybody stays.
Yeah.
And the teachers will oversee. It's not going to be like everybody go into the building and hide from the
We had a perfect example. We had, unfortunately, fortunately, it was a false call at Burroughs last year or in April.
Yeah.
And it was sixth period, kids were coming and going everywhere, right? And there was athletes out on the field, all that kind of stuff. And the soccer team, I think the track team that was out there, they're in like the storage areas behind, at the stadium waiting because all they heard was lockdown. They didn't know, so they went into the storage areas there. So I guess that's part of their drill, I guess, how they do it there. So there's no one fine answer, but I would definitely follow your teachers. They've been trained on it and they know. So yes.
So my school, whenever we do a drill, it's kind of weird because they just go over the loudspeaker and say we're having a lockdown for like 5 minutes before.
Mhm.
But like when we're actually in a situation where we need to go in lockdown, how will they inform us? Because I don't think we have an alarm in our school because they've never like done it or anything.
So depending on the school district or school you go to, I can tell you. So they have to inform you, right? Because they don't want to disrupt class. So hey, 5 minutes, like a fire alarm.
Yeah.
Hey, 5 minutes, we're going to do lockdown drill. And again, lockdowns can be for a number of reasons. It could be for the worst of the worst. It could be for not so much of the worst. But you could have a lockdown, and so it's important to drill it. If in the event is to be a real event, you will know. You will know the teacher will be either vocally telling you, there'll be an intercom, whatever choice of messaging they have. You will know. Typically, it'll be your teachers to tell you to lock down, sit down, be quiet, and get in the corner kind of thing.
I don't think I'll say one thing about that. I know in Burbank, I think not in Burbank, but I'm sure it's similar also in the other system. There is a silent system that the principal can activate that will send out an instant text all across all faculty.
They do.
Silent, and they all find out at once.
Yeah.
So that's how they get alerted to that.
The most important thing, again, like if your teacher's telling you to lock down, they may not have all the answers either, so just do the best you can. That's why they do the drills.
What if you're not with your teacher? Like, what if you're outside in the bathroom or something? Like, how would you know?
They tell you, they'll know. They're aware. There's teachers monitoring the halls or whatever. They're aware of all those kind of what if situations. They're very aware of it. So
And these are really good questions.
they're awesome.
That you can ask, we will tell you they're available to
Mhm.
provide you with a sheet that'll give you their disaster preparedness, right?
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking
Yep.
about. And you can look at it and it'll help you.
And you can use that opportunity if they have lockdown drills. Use that opportunity, right? That's the practice to ask some of the questions of some of your teachers. And the problem is there could be 1,000 what if scenarios, and they're not, there's 1,000 different questions. So we do try to do the best we can with what. But you have very good questions, and I would ask your teacher, your school, whoever, and they'll let you know. And the policy, some may differ from school district to school district, but overall, the overall tenet of it is it'll be relatively the same. Yes.
So at my school, we during class time,
Mm-hmm.
there's no one outside,
Mhm.
like no teachers or staff outside most of the time. So if you were in the bathroom or something, you know what happened? They tell us to go to the nearest classroom. What if the nearest classroom was all the way upstairs?
Yeah, you're gonna have again very good questions that are unique to your campus and your school, and to see what they can do. Right, you want to get to the closest, safest place, whether it be a classroom or a library or whatever it is that's on lockdown, and let them know.
And I think in the case if something was happening, they would have
Yeah.
their administrators or faculty go out and make sure everyone was safe. They don't just stay in their offices. They
Yeah.
usually put themselves more at risk to take care of you guys.
Our teachers are instructed to not let anybody in, so, like anybody in.
So that's always a concern, right? They go into lockdown, now they're not supposed to let anybody in, right?
Yeah.
So there's different ways, though. If I think there's no easy answer for that. If you're in a lockdown, you're not supposed to let anybody in, so it's up to you to find a place. I can tell you in real world situations as well as training, there's leeway with that, right? If you're in my class, and I'm sorry, what's your first name? What's it? Finley? And so I know, I'm the algebra teacher, which I wouldn't be because I'm terrible at math. And I know you just got up to go use the restroom, right? And then all of a sudden we do a lockdown, and all of a sudden I hear banging. Mr. Turner, it's Finley, Mr. Turner. I'm like, do I know it's her? No, I know, right? I know, I just let you, so you're going to get in. But I can't, but it's a very good question. Again, make sure you bring these up during your lockdown. It was what else do we do? What else, some other things we can do. So, yes.
A few weeks ago at my Monday to Friday job, we unfortunately had a shooting occur where a life was lost. As someone who is a little apprehensive to go to work now because of that incident, are the police on a higher patrol? Are there more patrols going out because of an incident such as that? Or is it kind of not looked at again?
It would vary. Are you talking about here in town?
It was in Northridge.
Okay. They're sensitive to it. Anytime we have a major event in a particular neighborhood, I feel comfortable speaking for LA as well. They're sensitive to that area. They're sensitive, and so there'd probably be extra patrols for a period of time in that area. Peace of mind for multiple reasons. In case there is an additional threat, peace of mind is a huge part, right, of our customer service, right?
Yeah, we've had a lot of visitors, like detectives, and
so they'll do it, and they know, right? Not that there's a continued threat, but they know that sometimes it gives you, at least you see a police car, it helps, at least limit it. So similar in Burbank, when we've had major events in the past, we'll give that area, that house, that park, whatever it is, a little extra attention, following it up and helping in that recovery process. So for sure. Anything else? We can go. I could do this all. I love it. This. I'll be honest with you. This topic is very near and dear to me. Like I told you, my wife's a teacher. She's been a teacher for about as long as I've been a police officer. I'm fascinated by it in a good way. I constantly want to learn about it. I constantly want to put all of us in the best, safest position we can be. And again, there's no perfect answer, but we could always do better. Yes.
I was going to address the
Yeah.
should we practice that exit route?
Well, we do for fire drills, but
Mhm.
we won't have a fire drill.
Yeah.
By the way, we're having a fire drill next week.
I don't think they've ever gone out through my room.
Well, that's it. Well, that's brand new. That's something that came up at the board meeting, that one exit isn't enough. And I chose your room because the recommendation was Shirley's room.
Yeah.
The thing I don't like about Shirley's room is if God forbid someone's here, they're gonna see us running that way because of the window. But your room is right behind the arc. So that would be, we go this way and we go out that way.
Yeah, you have to, tabletop exercises are wonderful for those kind of scenarios. That's where you the what if scenarios. What if they come in, what if they, rappel into here or something, you know what I mean? Well, we gotta go this way. So you need to have, right? You have to plan. You have to plan and be aware. But the first thing that goes out the window is the plan, right? When it really happens. But you need to have that muscle memory. You need to at least be able to think and know you have options, right? Do you have a reunification location? I'd probably suggest like maybe the library or whatever. If you guys had to evacuate from here, right? Think of locations like the library, which offers large enough area for parking, for reunification purposes, has restrooms, has shade, has water, right? Stuff like that. So different things like that. Yes.
Quick question, does Burbank PD offer tabletop exercises for the parents and staff here do it?
We could.
LAPD does.
Yeah, we absolutely could. We could schedule something out, and it'd be myself and maybe a couple others, and we could set aside something more structured and have an evening and go over a couple things. I'll work with Rabbi Sobel on that. We'd be happy to. We do the safety. We can do the safety walkthroughs and make other additional recommendations, right? To the security of the building, right? Anything from 50-foot walls to little latches on a door or whatever. Obviously you find the in-betweens. You find what's reasonable, what you can do to best fortify your location and kind of do stuff like that.
Oh, no, I'm already thinking. We missed the grant deadline.
Yeah.
But I think there's gonna be another grant, so why don't we start talking, Felicia, and Don at the
I'm
board
taking
meeting.
notes.
To start putting down,
You suggest signing a new grant for religious institutions.
Yeah.
oh, okay, good, because
I have the number.
cameras, we put the cameras, better exits, the doors don't work, I know, but not for now, when the kids are here.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
I think, I thank everybody for all your questions, and especially you guys have been great, for attention. Once again, there is an exit out that door, the front door is this way. Yes, if someone's coming this way, we don't know. If they're coming that way, which doesn't make any sense because that's where the walls are and stuff, I don't know. But we do have the contingency, that's why it actually says exit that way, because after Captain, then I guess it was Lieutenant Colonel, when he had the briefing for the temple at night, that's when things that you want to make sure that we know exactly the way to go. And so my door, as soon as I come in the morning and Friday nights, is always open. And as of last Friday and this Friday and today, Robin's door is also open. And those are two doors to get out to the middle of that thing. Once again, because I'm concerned about the window if someone could see us. Other than that, next week we're having a fire drill and probably maybe a lockdown drill the week. Well, I think the week after Thanksgiving, but we'll figure out. We'll have a lockdown drills one time.
It's a lot to discuss, and it's always growing. It's always changing. We learn, unfortunately, from each event, new ways to protect ourselves and stuff like that. So, very much. I look forward to working with you guys again. Like it's difficult when you have a range right now, like with more topic. When you have children and adults, it's different. I recommend that we can come out and talk to the parents again or whatever, and we definitely could come and talk to the kids again too about as far as lockdowns and stuff like that too.
I think we'll talk to the parent group at the meeting about getting time and talk about it. I don't know how busy your schedule is the next couple of weeks and stuff.
I'm here for you, sir.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? No.
And he knows how to get a hold of me. If something comes, if you go home and have a discussion tonight and loved one or whatever has another question, just email me and I'll get you if I don't have the answer, I'll get the answer for you. And, you know, it's just important. Events like this, even just talking about it's important, right? It keeps you in your mind.
Well, okay, one last thing about the building for the parents who may not know it. We have a very large and loud fire alarm system. And when that bell goes off, the kids know, because in the past, we've only done fire alarm, we've only done lockdown. I'll figure out a different way to if we got through, we need a lockdown to get to the teachers. Maybe we'll just all wear our phones and I'll dial it and whoever dials us.
We found, I don't want to speak for other school districts, but we found just plain English. Because some try to do like a hospital, like code blues, code reds, code grays, and code this, and that just gets lockdown, done. It doesn't matter what it is. I'll let you know what it is for later on. So try to keep it, right? Keep it as simple as you can for these kind of events, because that's the way your brain's going to be going 1,000 miles an hour. So you want to keep it as simple as you can.
I think there's no other questions. Thank you very
I
much.
have, thank you guys. If you have, can the kids line up? I got stickers and pencils and
Everybody line up.
fidget spinners. What?
This is the best part.
On that note,
Go on to class.
wow. You want to help me hand out? You can help hand out stickers.
Here, I'll be happy to help.
Or you gonna help?
Joseph, I think we can shut it.
Okay. Let's see what we got. There you go. There you go.
If you get your present.
Oh. There you go. There you go. And if there's other brothers and sisters that aren't here that you guys want to go, let me know.
You're welcome, Mom.
Oh, thank you. Okay, go ahead. Thank you very
You're
much.
very welcome. You want fidget spinners? Huh? That's it? No? You're very welcome. You guys want fidget spinners? You want one of those? Sure. There you go.